Hello and good morning from the International Fishing Station of America. Today's theme of the day is coarse and sea fishing, so Shakespeare, back to you. Alright, Ted, I might look like a fisherman, but I know nothing about fishing, so I invited a guest speaker today to tell us more about fishing. So, guest speaker, what's your name? Hello, Shakespeare. Matter of fact, my name is Pen Shimano. This is my boat and I'm proud of it, but it's sad because it's winter and I can't go out on it because it's wrapped up. Hello, Pen Shimano, and nice to meet you. Today, for our first question, I would like to ask you, what exactly do you know about coarse fishing? Coarse fishing? That's a complicated one. Luckily, I am an expert on fishing. So, for starters, coarse fishing is done in a small lake or pond, generally in a boat. You can do it on land, but that's a little bit more complicated because there's more tackle and lures. But on a boat, you know when there's fish there because you can see bubbles on the water because fish breathe too. You can also see sometimes there's strange ripples in the water. But to catch a fish, you have to put this stuff called worm goop on your fake worm, or you could just do something called dead baiting. Dead baiting is when you put something dead on your lure to make it taste good to fish. Also, worm goop is something that you put on your worm to make it taste good to the fish. To actually catch a fish, though, in coarse fishing, you need to use a technique called trotting, which is when you use a bobber, which is basically just a little styrofoam thing that you put on your line, to float the lure up, and it just carries in the current. That's called trotting. The reason why this works is because the flavor from your lure drags through the water and fish smell it and they come up and they eat it. Also, you can catch things like pike, perch, and trout in a lake or pond because it's coarse fishing. A lot of times they're smaller and they're not as hard to catch because they don't fight as much, and they're not as smart because they don't have to fight in order to live. That's basically coarse fishing on a boat. But coarse fishing on a land is a little different because you need something called a pole stand. And that is basically just a stand for your poles so that you can put your poles up without holding it the entire time. I like using them because, it's a lot easier and you don't have to hold your pole the entire time. But that's pretty much coarse fishing wrapped up. All you need to know for coarse fishing, yeah, I guess so. So, Shakespeare, back to you. Thank you very much, Pen Shimano. I learned a lot from that. I hope so did our viewers. But our next and final question of the day is, what exactly do you know about sea fishing, which we all know is different from coarse fishing? Well, Shakespeare, sea fishing, that one's a little bit more complicated because you need more bait and things to catch sea fish. Also, sea fish are a lot deeper, so you need to have a little bit more experience in order to catch sea fish. But first off, I guess we can start with your watercraft. You need a boat to go sea fishing because obviously it's on the sea. You can't really sea fish without a boat unless you're on a jetty or a rock wall. That's basically pretty self-explanatory, a rock wall that goes out and it helps prevent the land from getting hit by waves. Therefore, the beaches don't get decayed. But you use a boat, you go out to any old water, I guess, and you bait your hook. You get special hooks depending on the fish that you want. You bait your hooks, but deep water fish particularly like squid. So you bait your hook with squid, and what I like to do a lot is called drop fishing, which is basically where you flip the reel, which is basically just a little bar on your reel that you flip up and it lets all the line out. So you drop that until you feel a thump, and that's when you hit the bottom. And then you close your reel, and then you wait until you feel something that feels like bumps on your pole. That means that you have a fish on. So in that scenario, you yank your pole as hard as you can so you can set the hook. But a lot of times in coarse fishing, it's a lot easier to see the fish because they they're not that deep, so you can see the bubbles or you can see ripples. But these, unless it's low tide, you can't see ripples. But if there's birds chasing them and they're going crazy, hitting the water, that a lot of times means that there's fish. A lot of times also you can see when there's strange ripples at low tide, only low tide, because that's when they have to go higher. And a lot of time you can just bait them by putting special goop on your lure to make it taste good for them. And kind of like horse fishing and trotting, you can let the liquid drag through the water, and it makes the water smell good to them, and they go up and follow the smell and bite your hook. So that's sea fishing wrapped up. But one more thing. In coarse fishing, the patch of fish that you're going for, they are called a swim. A lot of people think they're something else, like say like a herd of birds. I don't know. Something else is like a flock or something. This is not. It's called a swim, believe it or not. And fish traveling together, that's called a school. So yeah, hope you learned a little bit Shakespeare, and all your viewers. Thank you very much for having me on WFMS. Thank you. Thank you very much, Pen Shimano. I learned a lot, and I hope our viewers at home did. But that concludes our show on today. But be sure to check us out on our website. But Ted, back to you. Thank you very much, Shakespeare and Pen Shimano. Don't forget. I hope everyone at home also learned a lot. I know I did, just like Shakespeare. But that has to conclude our show today. We're actually running a little overtime because of the next broadcasting channel. But yeah, I hope everyone liked it. Be sure to check us out. And goodbye.